Here's a new message for you. Full disclosure. So send me a request if you want any of the meetings, because I no longer send them out automatically because we're an open group now. So just request via email or some other way if you want the recording. And we'll get started. So we'll start, as we do, centering ourselves, preparing to practice yoga. So come away from the back of the chair and just take a moment to place your legs in alignment so that you have your knees hip distance apart, you have your feet underneath your knees. You're sitting up tall, you feel your sitting bones connecting with the chair. Your shoulders are sitting back, aligning above the hips, and your hands can be restful. And just try to invite the shoulders to release away from your ears. And adjust your skull if you sense your head is kind of pulling forward, which it likes to do. Just adjust your skull. Imagine the spine coming up through the very center of the skull. And then tilting the chin so it's simply neutral. It's not tipped up or down. It's just level with the floor. Relax your jaw. And close your eyes. And look toward your cheeks, which allows the brain to become more passive. And start to observe the rhythm of your breathing. Observe anything you notice physically. Maybe you notice some tension in the belly, which many of us carry. Culturally, we're taught to suck it in. Emotions live in the visceral area of the belly, so emotional tension can keep the belly tight as well. Notice if there's any movement with your breathing. Notice if the out breath is longer than the in breath. Notice if there's any areas in the body that are calling for your attention. And also take note of your mental state, how busy or active the mind is. Our minds are time travelers. They like to fly around in time, moving forward and backwards. Notice your emotional state today. And then just acknowledging and accepting how we are starting this practice today. Let's join our hands in front of the heart. And on an exhale, bow toward your heart, inviting your brain cells to rain down and integrate with the heart cells. And welcome. You can lift your head, open your eyes, release your hands. And just to get more present and centered, breathing is always a good exercise. So I was going to teach you guys the Ujjayi Pranayama breath, which is translated as victorious breath. And it's the breathing that we kind of gently constrict the throat to create a kind of controlled passage of breath. And you can do this on the inhale or the exhale, but we're going to just do the exhale today. So you can find the muscle first by just gently clearing your throat. It's that same muscle, except we're going to kind of make it a whole lot more delicate. So first, just kind of clear your throat and see if you can just kind of bring awareness to that action happening in your throat, that muscle perhaps. And then see how quietly you can do that action. And then you're going to practice it another way. Another way you can find this action in your throat is it's the same action we use when we blow our breath out, maybe on a piece of glass or checking our breath, except your lips are sealed. So you don't need to use your hand, but if you seal your lips and make the same action, you can hear your breath. It might sound like Darth Vader. It's that very kind of loud breathing. So this is the action we're going to play with today. And I'm just going to have you breathe in normally. And then on your next exhale, just practice with that out breath, constricting that muscle ever so slightly so you can hear it. It sounds like there's a little leak in a bike tire or something. And when you can hear your breath, it helps you really control the steadiness and the smoothness. So what we're trying to avoid is the breath rippling, which is an overdoing. We want to soften that up a little bit. We also don't want the breath to stop and start. So just be very light and delicate with that action. Start with another in-breath. And you'll notice when you can gently constrict the muscle in the throat, you can extend the exhalation, which is going to down-regulate the nervous system. So I just want you to try 3 or 4 more exhales on your own. Don't worry if it's not coming yet. Just practicing is always good work, no matter what the results are. So the primary goals with this are smoothness and steadiness of the breath. It will naturally elongate. Let's give it 2 more tries. This is a great exercise to do. You can do it any time of day when you're feeling a little bit stressed out, irritable, anxious, all those things. This can really help neutralize the situation. I use it all the time. To the point where my kids know it and they're like, Mom, stop doing your breathing. So I do it quite a lot. And just come back into normal, easy breathing. Just always take a few moments with the regular breathing just to notice how your breath returns, first of all, and also notice any effects on your nervous system, on your body, on your mood, anything that you notice. It's always good to see how these practices affect us. Okay. We're going to get started with the asana. That's the word we use for the physical practice of yoga. There's 8 limbs of yoga, and asana is just one of them. So the physical practice of yoga is just one of the 8 limb path of yoga. So we're going to come into child's pose. You can join your legs if that's comfortable. You can use your arms to connect your chest and thighs. You might also dangle your arms freely. And a lot of classes in yoga start with child's pose because it's very quieting to the brain, and it's also very humbling. It's kind of the bowing position. And it's a great reminder that we shouldn't try to do this practice with our egos, that we really just want to be sensitive to our bodies and where we are, and not try to drive the practice forward in some inauthentic way. So just letting all expectations just kind of go here, putting yourself in a more quiet frame of mind. Three more exhales. Just see if you can let those breaths really extend. The pose is very conducive to a longer exhale because we are compacting the belly space, the diaphragm. All the stale breath flows out. Breathing out is a natural way to detox. Just let another breath go here. And on an in-breath, just gently help yourself come up. Feel free to use the back of the chair once you're up. We're going to work a little bit with the neck and shoulders. I don't know about you, but I've been in my yard a lot and I've been feeling a lot of tension in the neck and shoulders. So just begin with your nice sitting upright position, although you can be against the chair back, and lower your chin toward your chest. Just kind of accessing the heavy weight of your head. Let it kind of treat it like a prop or like a bowling ball. Just kind of tilt it forward, and hopefully you feel the back of the neck elongating, just give that some breath. Give that 2 or 3 breaths just with the head sitting forward here. The shoulders remaining heavy. On an inhalation, you're going to roll your left ear toward your left shoulder, like your head just kind of tipped over to the left. And now notice how the right side of your neck is getting a chance to elongate. So just give that some breath. Exhale your chin back toward your chest and keep going. Inhale the head to the other side. So now your head is kind of dangling off to the right. Your left side neck is elongating. Give it some breath. And now you're going to exhale back to center. We'll keep going like this, but now with every breath. So inhale, the head rolls left. Exhale, the head comes to center. Inhale, the head rolls right. Exhale, center. And just like our breathing exercise, your primary goals for this are smoothness and steadiness. Not how deep or far you go, not how quickly you go. Smoothness and steadiness. You might feel like a machine that needs oil, that's okay. You'll probably notice as you repeat this that you're starting to become a little bit more lubricated and smoother. And I don't know about you, but every time I do this, I'm shocked at how much tension I carry in my neck. So I always get something out of this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's just interesting for me because I seem to be surprised by that. I'm pretty flexible in other ways, but my neck always seems to have something to say here. So the next time you come back to center, lift your head. And now we're going to move the shoulders. And we're going to start, you might need to sit forward a little bit just so you have space, but you don't have to fully come forward. We just need space to move the shoulders. So lift your shoulders up to your ears, push them forward. You're going to kind of rough out a square shape, drop them down and push them back. So again, it's up, forward, down, and back. And then from this square shape, just start to kind of smooth off those corners and you're going to be more fluid and it's going to turn into a circle. So just kind of seeking out that fluidity, that smoothness. It again doesn't have to be a big range of motion. It doesn't have to be fast. The smoothness is really what we're going for. If you've ever carved something, you know that it's really important to apply steady pressure. Otherwise you get little like divots or you don't have a smooth surface that you're carving. So imagine you're just kind of carving out the circular pattern with your shoulders. The next time your shoulders are forward and down, you can leave them there and we'll reverse. Up, now a square again, push back, drop down, push forward. And once you establish that kind of roughed out squarish shape, then you can begin to kind of shave off those corners and find that smooth circular motion and just kind of explore your own range. You might have hot spots or areas that are talking to you. And also bring awareness to your shoulder blades because they're doing their own little maneuver in the back body and you might be able to visualize that. They come together, they descend, they separate, they rise up the back. So let's do one more big circle here and you're going to leave your shoulders back and down. Hopefully your chest is nice and open. Good. So now a back bend. You can come a little bit more forward on your chair. Bring your hands to the back of the chair somewhere where you can push down. And then move your shoulder blades toward your chest. Lift your chest. Let your eyes kind of track up the wall, but keep your eyes soft as if they're resting on little pillows in the back of your head. And really use your shoulder blades as support for the chest to remain lifted and spread. And the shoulder blades, they coil. So the inner shoulder blades are more toward the chest than the outer shoulder blades. And just take a few inhales, really spreading the chest, not only lifting it, but feeling it kind of blossom open. And on an inhale, you'll help yourself become upright. You can bring your hands forward. We'll take the left hand to the right thigh, and the right hand will stay on your chair seat, kind of centered behind you. And here we're going to use this position to help us twist. So gently just kind of squeeze or grip the hip bones together. That's going to stabilize your pelvis a little bit more. Just imagine there's a little horizontal suspender from hip bone to hip bone. And then you hopefully feel the twist climbing up the spine. When you sense that you're ready for it, turn the head, look over the right shoulder. Keep your eyes soft and look onto the horizon line to keep your spine in a neutral position. On an inhale, lift yourself out of the twist, and you can move your right hand to your left thigh, your left hand behind you. Again, make sure you're supporting the pelvis with a little bit of a squeezing, corseting action there. See if you can roll the right armpit, chest area around, out of the shadows, into the sunlight. And again, just finish it off with the head turning over the left shoulder. Soft gaze, soft eyes. And inhale back to center. When you get there, exhale. Good. So now we're going to move the spine sideways. We're going to grab the chair with the left hand and raise the right arm. You can modify the arm if you need to drop the elbow down to support a shoulder injury. Feel free to do that. So on an in-breath, lengthen right fingertips to the left, but restore some weight to your right sitting bone. When you do so, you hopefully feel the right side body elongating. Now that we're connected with that chair a little bit better, we have a root. A few deepening breaths, encouraging the right side body to elongate, but also pay a little attention to your left side body that you're not just collapsing it. We've all heard the expression robbing Peter to pay Paul. We don't want to lengthen right side only to shorten left side. So find a way to breathe some space back into your left side body between your left hip and left armpit. And a lot of times in yoga, before we sense things, we have to imagine them because we can't quite sense these things. So just feel comfortable imagining that area of your body. And even if you don't sense it, just bringing attention there. On an in-breath, you're going to lift up and out of it. And then bringing the right hand to the chair, raise the left arm, inhale here, and exhale, lengthening to the right. Right away, bring weight back to your left sitting bone. Deepening breaths. Imagine the space between the left side ribs expanding. The muscles of respiration becoming more elastic. And somehow keeping a sense of spaciousness also to your right side body. And on an in-breath, lift yourself up and out of it, and then lower the arm down. Good. So we're going to make our way to a chair version of downward dog. So you can stand yourself up. Oh, there's my head. My head always gets chopped off here. So let me adjust the camera. So you're going to use the seat of the chair for hand support. And you'll walk your feet back. The idea is to keep the legs vertical as the torso and arms take on a diagonal shape. You might need to bend your knees. There's always a starting point. The body says, this is it, I'm not going farther. You need to honor that place and breathe. And do your best to draw your hips away from your hands. On the exhale, bend your knees and look for your belly button. On the inhale, straighten your legs as much as you can and look forward. Exhale, bend your knees, look to the navel. Inhale, straighten the legs and look forward. Just do a few more with your own breath. After this exhale, you're going to inhale to straighten the legs, but leave your head softly resting in the space between the arms. The head might start to pass through that space. The legs are to your straightest, whatever that is, which might mean they're still bent somewhat. And of course, you're breathing. Imagine someone's holding your hips and gently pulling. And now I want you to roll your hips to the left and feel the right side of your body elongate from the armpit to the hip. And it's just a little shift of weight to the left hip. And then you're going to inhale and roll the hips to the right. And just feel the left side of your body opening up. And then just do a few more on your own, shifting your weight from left to right. And then bring it back to center and help yourself walk in toward the chair. And then help yourself stand up. Good work. So we'll take the chair behind us so that we have the support of the higher part of the chair for mountain pose. And I just want you to stand in front of the chair, and it's a little bit of a reach for your fingertips just to touch the chair. And then put your feet in line with your hips so they're hip distance apart. Your toes should be straight in front of the heels. More specifically, your second toes line up with your heels. And then lift all 10 toes from the floor, spread the toes, and try to place the toes with as much width as you can from big toe to small toe. And with your shoulders staying where they are with fingertips on the chair, you can release the chair and just let your hands arrive kind of somewhere outside the centers of the thighs. The shoulders are staying back. Your palms are facing either your thighs or slightly turning forward. Good. Close your eyes if you can, otherwise just soften your eyes. Stepping into the feet with more intention, especially your heels. Firming your legs, which means if someone were to grab one of your kneecaps, it would not wobble around. Your quadricep muscles, your thigh muscles are squeezing, they're contracted, which frames the knee and aligns the knees. And as you take your leg muscles from front to back, you might imagine the backs of your thighs are absorbing the fronts of your thighs. And in yoga, if something goes back, something has to go forward. We're always equalizing. So then bring your attention to your buttocks and take the buttocks toward the pelvis or toward the front body. So the legs move back, the buttocks move forward. The abdomen spreads back, the chest stays forward, and the skull moves slightly back. There's all this kind of equalizing happening, which brings stability. Meanwhile, the feet have roots, and we keep lifting taller through the top of the head. So we don't stop where the body ends. We continue with energy into the floor, lifting up, out through the head. Good work. This is mountain pose. So go ahead and open your eyes and just release the limbs. The limbs all were in an effort state. So just maybe shake your legs, maybe wiggle your arms. And now we're going to take the chair and place it in front of us to practice tree pose. This is the standing balancing pose. And I like to use the chair not only for hand support, but whatever part of the chair is touching you, it could be it's touching your thighs. For some of us, you might have it touching your abdomen. It doesn't matter, but I want you to pay attention to right side and left side of that touch being even. That's really where the work is, because we do tend to rotate in this pose. So let the chair be an indication of how much rotating you're doing. We're going to try to keep that really evenly weighted. So we're going to start with the left foot staying down and the right heel propping against the left shin or ankle, whatever it meets. And then make sure your chair is touching both sides of you, whether it's your belly or your leg, whatever it is. You want even contact. Remember the idea of headlights on your hips. And then if you're able to step the foot up the leg, you might do that. You might keep your toes down as well. So remember the idea of the buttock coming forward as you take the right knee back. So something goes back, something goes forward. So I want you to take your right knee slightly back and roll the buttock forward. Shoulders stay back, and maybe you keep hands on chair. Maybe you take one hand to the heart center. Maybe both can come together at the heart center. And maybe the arms at some point can rise up. That's the full expression of the pose. But don't rush yourself. Move at the speed of your stability. Moving at the speed of presence. Don't get ahead of yourself. You want to pick some object on the wall that's straight in front of you, which will put your spine in a really neutral setting. If we look up, we tend to arch the back. If we look down, we tend to round the back. And however far you took the pose, start to work the steps backwards. So you're coming out with just as much intention and care as you took to come in. Stepping down with the right foot and then shaking the left leg out, just kind of refreshing your leg. And then as you're ready, you can start to set up for the second side. And oftentimes our sides are not matching. So try to clear your mind of expectations or predictions. And you're going to take the left heel against the right inner leg somewhere, the ankle maybe. Remember to draw the standing leg hip bone into the midline of the body because it wants to do the other thing. It wants to shoot outside. Then maybe you're going to step up the leg. Maybe you're going to keep your toes down. Make sure you're kind of rolling that left buttock forward as you gently try to take the left knee back. And then maybe we play with less support from the hands. We might take the hand or hands away from the chair. We might be able to extend the arms up. These look great. And then start to reverse your steps slowly back until you're able to step down with the left foot and give the right leg a shake. Good work. let's put our chairs. So I wanted to make a note of something here. The way I teach is so you can see me, but you're welcome to work with your mat running this way and your chair just staying at the top of the mat so you don't have to move your chair a bunch of times. You're welcome to work that way. I don't want to do that because then I would block your view of me. So just know that you don't have to move the chair right and left if you want to work facing the camera the whole time. You can do that. But before we get into those poses, we're going to just take our chair pose. And we've done this one sitting on the chair. We're going to do it from standing today. So just take a couple of fists of space between your feet. So you can kind of eyeball that amount. It's about the hip distance for most of us too. And we're going to come into chair pose from standing with the arms up. And in my tradition of yoga, we try to keep the torso pretty much upright in this pose. Other traditions of yoga, you'll see people kind of tilting the torso forward. So your job is really to feel what you're feeling right now. And as you come into the pose on an exhale by bending the knees, attempt to keep your torso pretty upright. So one way to do that is to take the tailbone deeply into the body. Think about the pelvic bowl tilting back, to hollow out the belly a little bit toward the back body, to keep your arms in your peripheral vision, outside of your peripheral vision, which might mean you have to go into a letter V or a goal post, because what we don't want to do is contract the chest. So if your straight arms are contracting your chest, widen the arms or even bend the elbows. One last thing, lift your pelvic floor by squeezing gently the pelvic floor muscles. Same action we use to control the flow of the urine, right? Okay, 2 more breaths. Inhale to come up. And exhale, release your arms. So squatting is considered one of the 4 best exercises to do for your whole life, which is good for knee health, which we all care about. And so this is considered a squat because you're strengthening the quadriceps muscles. So you can practice this to any degree. One day, someday, we would like to see you look like you're sitting in a chair, but that's really, really hard. So just do what you can with your deepest amount of knee flexion, and it will get deeper over time. Okay, so now you're either going to place the chair seat in front of you or to the side, depends on how you're working, but we're going to come into our triangle pose. So we're going to have the right foot under the chair, the left foot stepping back. So whether or not you're working facing the camera or with the chair to the side, you want to see that the mat isn't, the long edge of the mat is in front of you. These are called lateral poses when your legs are moving out to the sides of the torso. So triangle pose, excuse me, is a lateral pose. The right heel lines up with your left arch of your foot if you were to draw a line. And your left toe should be slightly turned in. And then, of course, you notice how that helps, that causes your torso to rotate to the right. Steer your torso back so you're facing that long edge of your mat. Okay, we'll take the arms up and open. With your open arms, palms facing up, try to keep what you have going on in your upper arm and rotate just from your elbows to your fingertips. Inhale here. Exhale, you're going to extend your torso to the right and try to place your hand on the chair seat underneath your shoulder. And for some of us, you might need to put something there like a book or a yoga block if you have one, if the chair feels too low. Your left hand will come to your left hip. Okay, we're going to keep talking about this butt moving forward today. So bring your right buttock toward the front body. That will help your left shoulder roll back. It will take your head back. It will really clean up your pose. Try to extend your right toes out away from the heel. Try to anchor into your left heel. And then if you feel like you're shoulder over shoulder, in other words, that the left shoulder isn't curling toward the floor, Then you can take the arm up to complete the pose. Otherwise, keep your hand on your hip. Remember the idea of the kneecap not wobbling. So make sure your right thigh is firm. Squeeze your right thigh muscles. These look beautiful. Good job, you guys. Take another inhale, and on your exhale this time, I want you to turn toward the chair. Bring your hands down, both hands, and you're gonna find your way into your chair dog. So you have to step your feet so they're side by side, and then walk yourself back into the chair dog. And as you're ready, you'll set up for the second side. And again, that might mean you move the chair, which is what I'm going to do so that you can continue to see me. It might mean that you just step your left foot under the chair and then take the right foot back. So first, just check your alignment points out. Left heel should move into the arch of the right foot if you were to draw a line there. Your left toes are turning directly out to the left. Your right toes are slightly to the left. So it's like a 15 to 45 degree angle. And then make sure your torso is turning away from that chair. It's facing that broad side of your mat. Now we'll raise the arms. And now we'll open the arms. And then with palms up, just feeling, sensing the upper arms, try to do your best to keep that. And revolve the lower arms, the forearms, from elbows to fingertips, palms face down. Inhale. Exhale, extending to the left. Take your hand in line with your shoulder, maybe prop it up if you need a little more height. Right hand can come to the hip. Roll your left buttock toward me. Try to take your right shoulder back, take your head back. Keep your legs firm. And remember when we were sitting on the chair doing the lateral movement, we don't want to have this really long right side body only to have a shortened left side body. So find a way to recover some space between your left hip and your left armpit. Deep breathing, that magic ingredient to every pose. Once you've set the pose up, apply the breaths. Wonderful, these look great. Take another inhale, and then on your exhale, gently help yourself turn to face the chair, to place that right hand on the seat, to help your legs come underneath you for that chair dog. So feet side by side, and then walking yourself back and really elongating the trunk. We want to have one consistent line from the wrists to the hips. And eventually the shoulder line becomes more of a valley than a peak. When you're tight, it's more of a peak than a valley, but eventually the shoulders dip lower than the wrists and hips. Sinking your shoulder blades toward your chest. You guys look great. A couple more breaths here. Okay, beautiful. Now you're going to start to walk in toward the chair. And we'll do two poses to the right that go together really well. So we can do both on the right and then both on the left. So you'll start with your right foot beneath the chair. And we still want to be stepping wide, but these two poses have a right angle at the knee or a bent knee if the right angle isn't yet in the cards. Just work toward a deep knee bend, whatever you've got. And let's just practice by straightening and bending. So taking your hips, again, make sure that you're turning your torso to the left so it's not tempted to keep rotating to the right. Exhale, you're going to bend the knee, and inhale, you're going to straighten. And then you're going to try to think about having a paperback book on the top of your head and keeping it there. So you're really stabilizing the torso In other words, you don't want to be tipping the torso to the right when you bend the knee. So use your left heel as an anchor. One other thing I want you to watch, and don't think about the book because that idea wouldn't work here. I want you to go and peek at your right knee as you bend and straighten and see if it's keeping track with the toes, which is what we want. The knee might try to waver inward of the big toe, which is what we don't want. So just check out how your knee tracks. And if it's not tracking with the toes, do your best to put it on track with the toes. And then the next time you bend the knee, you can land there. We're going to come into Warrior Two, extending the arms out. Try to relax the shoulders by releasing your shoulder blades down your back. Look over your right fingertips, but imagine someone's holding your left wrist firmly, not letting you go anywhere, and extend through the right fingertips away from that grip on your left wrist. So it brings a little more power into the arms. Take an inhale here, and on your exhale, I want you to find the chair with your right hand. Keep the knee bent. Take your left hand to your left hip. This is called side angle pose. Roll that left shoulder back, move the right buttock toward me. So it's very much like triangle pose, except we have this bent knee. Okay, you know what your knee wants to do, which is droop inward. So bring a little bit of awareness to the outer knee and the small toe kind of moving toward the back edge of the mat. Good. Go ahead and straighten your leg. Turn to face the chair again, and you're going to come back, find your way into that downward dog chair version, just to kind of reset between sides here. And when you feel ready, you can start to make your way into the left side. Either move the chair or just step the left foot under the chair, whatever is working better for you. And you're going to need enough space that you're able to take the knee above the ankle without the chair being in your way. But the chair close enough, when we need to rest the hand, it'll be there. Okay, and again, you're going to, once you have the legs set up, the heel aligning with the arch of the right foot, then take your hips and just kind of turn yourself to that long edge of your mat. And you'll play with the bending and extending of the leg. Exhale to bend and inhale to straighten. And again, just start with that idea of the book on your head, not going anywhere. If you can see yourself on your screen, that is helpful because you can see the torso really remaining vertical. It does tend to pitch toward the bent knee side if we let it. So we're trying to resist that. And make sure you take a couple knee bends with a little bit of a visual on your knee relationship with your toes and how they track, and try to put that alignment together. Okay. The next time you come into the knee bend, you can stay there. See if you can move the flesh of that buttock toward the camera, toward the front body. We're going to extend the arms. Relax the inner shoulder blades down your back. Look over your right fingertips, but don't let your torso turn to the right. You're rolling your torso from left to right. I said don't let your torso turn to the right. You do want your torso to turn to the right. So you're looking over the left hand, but you're spiraling your torso from the left to the right. I hope that makes sense. Now inhale here, and on an exhale, now let the torso move toward that chair. Place your hand down on the chair seat. Bring your right hand to your hip or your waist. Pressurize the left knee toward the small toe. Roll the left buttock toward the front body. And feel that big diagonal line of open side body on the right, and somehow maintain some spaciousness also on the left side body. So the finishing piece for this pose is to align the top arm next to the ear. That might be in the cards for you, it might not. But then you have an even longer, beautiful right side body, which is why this pose is called side angle pose. And sometimes that piece doesn't come, and it's better to keep the hand on the hip until we can really get the chest revolving toward the ceiling. So you have to kind of sense these things. Take one more big in breath, and then you're going to gently exhale and turn to face the chair and bring that right hand onto it. Help your feet come side by side. Walk yourself back into that chair, downward dog. And go ahead and look forward and walk yourself in. So we're done with the lateral poses for today, and now we're going to do just a couple more poses that face the chair. So these are Warrior 1 and Warrior 3, and I want you to face the higher part of the chair, just because we want more of the hand support happening there. So we'll start with Warrior 1, tucking the right foot under the chair seat, stepping the left foot back. And again, we have a bent knee in this pose, so you want enough room to bend the knee. So one thing we don't really focus on enough in this pose is the back leg. We really want it straight. And maybe your heel doesn't come down to the floor, that's okay. You can still try to straighten the leg completely, even if the heel doesn't come down to the floor. The back leg, think about it like a big tap root for this pose. It's like the anchor. Okay, I want you to take your tailbone in. It's the same idea that the pelvis is tipping back. And then you might just raise your left arm. You might raise both arms. It depends on your balance. But if you raise the left arm, notice how you have this full crescent shape, a beautiful crescent shape, happening from the back leg all the way up to the left fingertips. And maybe both arms come up. That's up to you if you can support it. Think about your shoulder blades as support for your chest. Keep tipping the pelvis back, which will keep your lower back happier. And slightly shift your eyes up, but keep your eyes relaxed. And on an inhale, you can begin to straighten your right leg. Bring your hands down to the chair. And then you're going to help yourself step onto your right foot and step your left big toe back. So now we'll prepare for Warrior 3. This is the pose where we kind of turn into a capital letter T shape. So eventually we do it without hand support, but I love teaching it with support because then you learn the integrity of the pose. So first, just imagine you have a big tight belt around your hips, compacting your hips toward midline, very stabilizing. Make sure your right leg is in good form. You have toes in front of heel. You have a straight, firm leg. And then on an exhale, you're going to just raise the left leg from the floor. And for some of us, you might not. You might just kind of attempt to almost raise the leg. So just taking a little weight from the toe. But if you can, if the leg is raised, you can start to move into that capital letter T shape. And the idea is that you keep the lower back level. Like you could hold, again, the idea of a book or a teacup on your lower back. If you have the balance, you might play with extending the left arm forward or both arms, probably not. And then on an inhale, you're going to gently come out of it. This is one of those poses that I always find is harder when we slow it down like this. It's also hard freestanding, but it's hard in its own way. When we slow it down, I'm not sure if you thought it was a little challenging. I did. So just give your legs a little shake and prepare for side two of both of those poses. So we're going to be having left foot forward right foot back and enough room that we can bend the left knee. Whether or not the right heel is all the way down is not as important as if we can fully straighten the right leg. So fully straighten the right leg. Tip the pelvis back until you feel the lower back becoming less scrunchy. If you think about the flesh, we want it a little more smooth, a little less scrunched up. So tip the pelvis back to elongate the lower back. Maybe the right arm comes up, maybe both arms come up. The chest is supported by the shoulder blades. Your eyes are going to slightly elevate up the wall. And then on an inhale, lowering your arms, straightening your leg, we're going to step our weight forward so that we can take the right big toe on the floor. The left leg is weight bearing, holding us up. Squeeze your hips together. Inhale here, and on an exhale, just see about lifting the leg, bringing the torso down as the leg rises. They work in tandem like a seesaw. Maybe the left arm extends. Maybe we keep the hands on the chair. And then on an inhale, come up and out of it. And then give your legs a little shake. So I forgot, we have one more lateral pose, but this is just to quiet the brain before we come back to seated. So this is where we step wide with the chair in front of us. The chair seat is what we're going to be working with. And your feet are wide. Your toes are in front of your heels. So don't let your toes turn out. Put your toes in front of your heels. We're going to attempt to bring our heads down. So you might need your arms on the chair. You might need to add a block. We're just going to try to get the head down some way. Sometimes you can just put your elbows on the chair. Your hands come to kind of a prayer position. Your forehead can come onto your hands. There's not a wrong way to do it. As long as your head gets some support, that's going to really help the brain become quiet. And then try to balance the weight of the feet. We don't want it all in the toes. We don't want it all in the heels. So just kind of spill your weight gently back and forth until you find center. Attempt to keep your legs straight. I'm going to stay another minute here. With your next inhale, begin to lift your head. Use your hands for support to help bring your feet closer together. Once you're able to, you're going to stand up just so that you can help yourself move the chair and sit down in it. And then sit on the chair so that you're supported with the back of the chair again. Make sure your hands are close enough to your hips that you have the shoulders back. They're not rounded forward. And we're going to come back to that breathing exercise. I'm just going to see if you can count the rhythm, count the beats of your inhale and count the beats of your exhale. I'm not telling you what you're trying to count. You're not going to try to count anything. You're just going to notice and just kind of take note of. So when you breathe in, it's going to be the normal, easy breathe in. But when you breathe out, I'm going to have you try again to find that muscle to control, steady, slow, and smooth the out breath. Hopefully you can hear it. And so you're going to count the inhale and count the exhale. And it might change after. We're going to do 4 rounds of breathing, 4 cycles of breathing. Begin whenever you're ready. So again, we're not trying to reach a certain number. You're just trying to kind of sit back and passively count your breaths. And then leave the counting, leave the out breath alone. Just sit quietly with your normal breathing. See if you can just kind of observe how the body breathes by itself. A lot of what we do in yoga is kind of clearing pathways for the breath. Moving your attention to your body, begin to soften the skin of your face, especially the forehead, brow line, skin around the eyes and mouth. Soften your jaw. Soften your tongue. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Lengthen from the chin up to the base of the skull. And invite the muscles of your legs to fall away from the bones. Try to soften any tension in the abdomen, freeing the breath. Let's take a deep breath in and completely let that breath go. Begin to squeeze fists and extend your fingers. Do the same with your toes. Maybe wiggle your wrists and ankles. Maybe rock your head gently. And when you're ready, you can sit forward a little bit from the back of the chair and just join your hands together in front of your heart for a moment. Use your thumbs to press up on the breastbone And just kind of envision the flesh of the chest lifting and then rolling over the shoulders and down your back. Look toward your cheeks and soften your face enough that you might sense a very delicate smile. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Right. Nice work, you guys. Really beautiful poses on my end. I hope they felt good. Always check in with me if anything is questionable or, you know, any reason. Feel free to check in. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.